Welcome to our NAIDOC Week event here at Bendigo Art Gallery. My name is Shonae Hobson and I am the First Nations curator here. I'm also the curator of this really exciting exhibition that we've got in store for you called Piinpi, Contemporary Indigenous Fashion. We're very excited to be opening the gallery this Thursday, so we hope you can all come up and visit. Before we begin our session today, I'd like to firstly pay my respects and acknowledgements to the traditional custodians of the land that I'm on and from where you all are zooming in from, the Djadjurrung and Taungurung peoples of the Kulin Nation, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. Thank you to our wonderful panellists for joining us today. We have Lyn-Al Young, Arkie Barden and Lisa Waup. Lyn-Al is a Gunai, Wiradjuri, Gunditjmara and Yordi. Born in Naarm. Her practice is studio-based and involves the creation of objects with a strong connection of symbology through her work and materials which connects her to her family, her country, and her history and stories. Arkie Barden is a Kalkadunga and Bidjara woman, also based in Naarm. Her practice draws from her Indigenous heritage to create beautiful contemporary pieces across multiple disciplines. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today.
Thank you.
I'm super excited to be yarning with yous. To our viewers who are watching, we will be in conversation for the next hour, so feel free to drop any questions or comments that you have on our Facebook page and we'll get to those at the end of the session at 3:45. So I'd like to begin today to give everyone a little bit of a background and some context on the exhibition. So Piinpi is a Kukuyawa word from my great-grandmother's language, and it's really a celebration and an acknowledgement of Indigenous practices and connection to country and culture. We have around 70 artists and designers in the jewellery pieces and fibre material. So we'll go to our questions now, and I'll come over to you, Lisa.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
Very well, thank you. Would you like to talk to us a little bit about your own artistic practice and I guess how you got into fashion and your collaboration with Ingrid Werner?
Yep. I'd be happy to. Before I begin, I too would like to acknowledge the lands that Piinpi is on, and the traditional lands of Djadjurrung and the Taungurung peoples. I'd also like to respectfully acknowledge their elders past and yet to emerge. I'm actually standing on Bunwarang country at the moment, so I'd like to acknowledge their sacred lands also, and their elders and ancestors and people, and also extend those also to the Great Kulin Nation. My journey with, I guess, my practice, I'm a visual artist, so I guess that's kind of where mine started from. It might be a little bit different to other designers or the same, but so I'm a visual artist, and I guess mine first started when I was approached by Liz Little she was at Creative Victoria at the time, and she asked if I'd like to be part of a fashion collaboration, and that was in 2017. So that's when I first met Ingrid, and that was also in collaboration with Craft Victoria. So Sarah Weston was a big driving force for that. I think also, the love of fashion for me kind of started as a very younger person. And I think my mum really instilled that into me. She's an artist herself, so she taught me how to sew and how to, create my own designs. And I guess her mum also was a seamstress in Italy too. So I've got two families. Yeah, so I think that's a skill that was passed on to her, and I feel like she's kind of passed that on to me as well. So it was something that I had really dreamed of doing ever since I was much younger, to kind of get into fashion. It's something that I've really always had a great love for. So yeah, that first collection came out in 2017, and it was from images that I had drawn with, monochromatic drawings in my visual diary that I had drawn. And I guess it was a repeated imagery that I had done for some time, and a lot of it kind of came about with the idea, with, different elements, but it always comes back to family, and I guess that connection to, like this one here, for example, that's called Continuity Without Stagnation. This is the actual drawing in my visual diary. So, and the idea of that was my husband had said to me, because a lot of my work is circular. I guess the symbology behind that is that for me, it means family. So, and I guess that connection, and a lot of my woven objects are circular as well. And so the title for that first image was Continuity Without Stagnation. So my husband had said to me, Mama, why don't you draw a square? You're always drawing circles. A square is an idea where you can sit and you can stop and you can look and you can reassess and you can, so that's where that originally kind of came from. But that image has really expanded a lot in my practice. It's that one image, but it's something that I hold very close to, and it's that idea of that kind of crossroads as well, and, that element of change. Oh, this is a beautiful frill dress, and that was there was 3 different drawings that were part of this collection called Journeys, and this one is tracing history. So the idea, there's black and white. My history is a little fragmented, so it's the idea of what's there and what's not there, and that was kind of the inspiration behind that design. This collection came out in 2018, and it came about being invited to go to Hong Kong Business of Design Week, and this was through the wonderful Philip Boone. And so it was basically proposed who I would like to collaborate with, and I couldn't think of anybody better to do it, or that I'd want to do it with. So Ingrid and I went in for a second round, and this was the collection that came out from that. It was really exciting because we got to do the printmaking with the continuity print at Spacecraft in Collingwood. So that was lots of fun. It was all hand screen printed. So the prototypes were all screen printed in Melbourne for that design, which was really exciting. And then from the remnants of the fabrics, I'd asked if I could have them, and then I created body adornment from it. So there was neck pieces and earrings and rings and all different types of jewellery that I kind of got from this collection. And that really excited me. I like the idea of it being reused and repurposed, which kind of is a real thread in my practice. And also the idea of, because all those designs are really entrenched with story as well. So the idea of those remnant fabrics being thrown in the bin kind of didn't sit with me either. So, it was just, it was an amazing experience to see these as drawings originally. So they're like 2D drawings, and then they kind of became animated with these figures and these beautiful models going down the catwalk in them. And it's just been an absolutely incredible experience. So there's also one other design in this collection as well, and it's called The Eyes of My Ancestors, but it's not in the exhibition, but it's another drawing. Yeah.
Beautiful, thank you. And
Thank you.
Lenel, you and I have had a lot of yarns about your inspiration, and like Lisa's work as well, you draw a lot on your culture and your family and your history. Could you please talk to us about how your fashion journey started and some of the works that you produced for Piinpi?
Yeah. So I'm a proud Gunai, Wiradjuri, Gunditjmara and Yorta woman, and own my own label, Lenel. And really my brand, my every collection and just every single piece celebrates my four mobs, celebrates our country, our totems, markings, and honours the stories that my family passed down, honours the women in my family and our ancestors. So creating this collection for Piinpi, it really was drawn upon all of those elements. For each season, it really honoured each 4 of my mobs for the 4 seasons. So it's been a really beautiful experience working on this at a season, with COVID, with just the season of 2020, working on a collection 4 seasons. I think it's just been a really interesting process to go through. So for dry season, I called that Tarawa, which means fire in Gunai. And I wanted to do dry season for Gunai to recognise the devastating bushfires at the start of this year on Gippsland, on Gunai country, but also represent the resilient spirit within our mob, within our country, and that will be coming back stronger. So that's really what that piece is to represent. Those colours, as you can see, even that rock there, when I was able to go back and paint on Gunai country, there's a lot of orange rocks there and very large rocks, so it's just really representing that. And then for wet season, or for cool season, whichever one's going up, for cool season, which is the yellow piece, I call that banga, which means wind in Yorta Yorta language. And I was paying homage to the possum skin cloaks that are well known by the Yorta Yorta people, and that picture there is actually my nan at the Commonwealth Games years ago. She was wearing a possum skin. But I used yellow ochre colours to represent our Yorta Yorta totem, which is the long-necked turtle with the belly. And so that's really what that piece is about. And then for wet season, I call that Norontok, which means winter in Gunditj Mara language. And I used Australian merino wool, which I printed some fish, and then I painted some of the water to represent our land down that way, and some silk at the back to represent the water as well. And it's coming up now here. And you can see the fish inspiration, and that's Budgebim National Park, where our the fish traps made from the rocks in the land, made by our ancestors, which is just a genius, and it's really well recognised of just the genius way of how they were created to catch fish and eels. And so this piece is really honouring that and my Gunditj Mara mob. And then for regeneration season, I named that after my Wiradjuri mob, so I called that Yaraga, which means spring in Wiradjuri. And I was inspired by the native bush flowers, the eucalypt leaves, and just, I think at a time, I was really creating these pieces at a time when it was spring. And I think it was just a really interesting process to go through to create. And so the colours represent the bush, represent the leaves, but it also represents healing. It represents new life. It represents new vision. And it represents the fruits of the spiritual fruits that we reap from our ancestors as well, and from our country, not just physical. So that's just some of the pieces, and it's been a really lovely experience and honour to have these pieces shown at Piinpi. So thank you.
Thank you, Lyn-Al. And I guess too, it goes back to that idea of what Indigenous fashion and design is all about. It's really about sharing stories and sharing our culture and talking about our country and sustainability as well. I'll come to you, Arkie, and you studied fashion in Brisbane. So can you talk to us about your designs, which is so beautiful and fun and vibrant, and I guess where you get your inspiration from.
Yeah, definitely. I think in a sense, my journey into fashion is similar to Lisa in regards to I really started with an arts practice and then kind of moved into fashion as that became almost like a separate interest of mine personally, and kind of had that moment where I realized that I could merge the two and create something really beautiful. And I think with fashion for me, it's always been about access as well, and how I think for a lot of people, art isn't as accessible as potentially clothing is, and being able to engage with clothing and almost have to every day, that fashion and art was a really great way to kind of communicate Aboriginal culture and my culture. And yeah, I guess show that to a variety of different audiences, not just the art world. So I did study fashion design as a fine arts degree in Brisbane at QT, and the pieces that I've actually got showing in Piinpi that you can see now are from my graduate collection that I actually did through that course. So they were my first body of work in terms of fashion design, and kind of applying my arts practice to clothing. So you can see here, I think my art has always had quite a graphic, bold, and really fun palette. And so I kind of really wanted to, I guess, transfer that into my fashion practice as well. So a lot of the silhouettes are really bold and different and interesting and very street style. Kind of playing with, I guess, the applique, Dreamtime jacket, which you can see up there as well as the prints. So they kind of work hand in hand. But yeah, I guess, again, just in terms of that connection to culture, and I guess even just talking about the seasons and the environment, I think, I guess Indigenous fashion and First Nations fashions has this ability to be authentic in a way that I think a lot of fashion isn't or can't be, because it is about all of our stories, and even in a street style perspective, which I think can tend to kind of lose that background story, there still has that element of it. And a lot of my works are inspired by the environment and the nature and the country of my mob, which is Kalkadoon and Bidjara, so up in Queensland. And if you can see the prints that I have in there, I've got the black and white, which is my black spinifex artwork, which was inspired by that plant that appears on my land. And then also with the rainbow artwork, all of the colours of nature, and yeah, representing that through the clothing as well in quite a fun and really accessible and wearable way. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think too, just that accessibility, I think, for me and a lot of viewers watching, to be able to wear a garment with a story and that has purpose and is about country is really an empowering thing. When you're wearing a design by Lyn-Al or Lisa and Arkie, what you're really carrying with you is, 65,000 years of culture and history, which is really beautiful as well. Mm-hmm. One of the topics that I'm really interested in is COVID, and because you're all based in Melbourne, what has it been like for you guys to, I guess, still make art during these COVID times? And I might defer to you, Arkie, and then we'll go to Lisa and Lenel.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very interesting because obviously Melbourne, we've been in quite hard lockdown for so many months, and I have been lucky that I also worked full time as a fashion designer in commercial fashion as well as my arts practice. So I think for me, being able to have that balance of my arts practice where I'm able to be really creative, and I think quite authentic in the work that I'm creating, has definitely been something that I valued a lot through this time. And I think being able to take a step back from usually having a lot of projects on the go, and able to kind of spend a little bit more time into my creative and personal development with my arts practice has been really valuable. And just we've all gone through so much with COVID that I think I can speak for a lot of people in arts, even having that outlet has been really valuable, and even seeing people that aren't particularly artistic, natural, or like not even like that, but not doing art as much in their everyday life or in work, getting to do painting and crafting and really having a lot more time to invest in being creative, especially because we haven't had much else to do, has been, yeah, definitely just so valuable and really interesting to see. And yeah, like even on my Instagram, I've done a few Instagram live workshops, like with painting pots and things around the house that you can kind of be creative with without having to like go get a canvas or feel like you have all these large expectations of being creative. Yeah,
beautiful. How about you, Lisa?
I'm actually doing a master's in contemporary art at the moment at Melbourne Uni at VCA, so that's kept me really occupied. And I've still been lucky, not the whole time, but still been able to work one day a week at Bullock Arts, especially because we had DAF and we had to process orders and things like that. So I feel like I've been really fortunate that, I've still had lots of things happening. I've had lots of people saying how bored they are and, they've got nothing to do. That's, I don't have that problem. Like I'm always doing something, and, I think that I'm really blessed because I've got a creative mind. So, I'm always able to do something. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And Lenel, you've been working on a few projects during this time, and you and I have been in touch over Zoom. Going through a few of the designs. How's it been for you?
Yeah, I think doing positive projects like Piinpi has been a really good thing for this year. I think I have been running my business for 7 years, so before 2020 even started, I was ready for a break, and then a lot of the stuff hit and it kind of forced me into a break. So for the first 6 months, really, I really took a step back and just rested and focused on my health. So that's been a really good journey for me to give me a little bit more strength to be able to work on projects like this, starting to get back into things. But I think, especially a lot of my work is inspired by country and family. Not being able to go back to country or connect with my extended family, it can be difficult at times, of course, but I think like Arkie and Lisa said, it is a beautiful and healing process and outlet for us to create, to continue to share stories even through these tough times. And I think it has, shifted and impacted even my own thinking and my own creative process. So I think there's blessings that will come out of it. And there's a lot of the end of time when we're finally out of lockdown, so that's up a bit.
Yeah, and I think it really goes to show how, as First Nations mob, how resilient we are as well, to be taking something like COVID and turning it into, an opportunity to create really beautiful works. And I really do hope that anyone watching will be able to come up and see the exhibition and see these incredible designs that these artists have done. Lisa, you touched on your collaboration with Ingrid Werner. What was that like, and why is it important for ethical collaborations between non-Indigenous designers and First Nations artists?
I think it's really important to have ethical collaborations. I think that I've been really fortunate being paired up with Ingrid, because I think we've worked really well together. And I think, the paramount thing with collaborations is respect. And also not to expect things to happen straight away. Like, I think it takes time, and for myself, I need to get to know somebody as well, and to, like those stories that are within those drawings, they're very personal stories. So to feel in a safe space and to be able to kind of share that, I think, is really important. But the idea of collaborations, I think, is a really underrated. It's a really underrated, and I think, there's two different types of creatives or two different types of practices kind of coming together, and I think that really can create some magic. So I think it's important to keep conversations open, and I think that's probably the highlight of it all, is just to keep that moving. But also, I love the idea. What Ingrid and I have done is it's slow fashion, and I think that that really excites me. And using quality materials and thinking about where the materials have come from, and creating these limited kind of editions in some ways of collections. Yeah.
And I think too, thinking about your collaboration and that concept of sustainability, and thinking about, how wasteful the fashion industry can be, the work that, the designers are doing in this exhibition is really important. And, I think it's important for the fashion industry as a whole to be taking note as well of the incredible work that First Nations people are doing in terms of our resourcefulness and looking after country as well.
Yeah, I agree totally. Yeah.
Yeah. I might open this question up to all of you, because I know you've all worked collaboration. Lyn-Al, you've recently done stuff with Vogue and the Nivea, and Arkie, we've got your Sukin hand wash in the gallery as well. So for anyone watching, what are some of the approaches that non-Indigenous people should take when they're thinking about engaging or working with First Nations artists and designer? So we'll go to Arkie first for that one.
It's interesting because I've done a few collaborations now with companies like that. So I had the Sukin, where I was doing packaging artwork for them for their artist collaboration, and then also have done some gift cards for Hallmark. I think the biggest thing with that is definitely a sense of respect and trust. And I think, Lisa, you touched on this in regards to being able to trust the people that you're working with. And that's definitely something that's really important to me. And I think a lot of First Nations people as well is that we know that we can create and work in a safe space where we're going to be understood, but also respected. And there's definitely companies that don't do that. So I think just from a perspective of being an Aboriginal artist, for me, it's really important that I'm also vetting and understanding that we're on the same page. So I think for any companies that want to work with First Nations people, that they really are coming to the table open and understanding, and also willing to answer all of those questions. And I think, have that understanding as well that contemporary Aboriginal art comes in all different forms, and it's not just, I think contemporary, it's very overarching, and we're incredibly versatile. So I think that's really important to note.
Yep. Lyn-Al, how have you found your collaborations and that process?
Yeah, I think I agree with Arkie about, feeling safe, feeling that mutual respect. And I think going into it, they're the expert in whatever product they're creating in their brand and business. And I think coming as even though I can't speak on other mobs, on other people in family, I can speak only from my story, my truth, but I'm the expert, I guess, in that practice. And when it comes to cultural topics, it's making sure that I speak my authority, in a sense, in that collaboration, just so that it's, I've just had instances where it's like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, or what about this, or people have an idea of what Indigenous art is and different things. So speaking up, having really open, honest communication if you don't feel like you can openly communicate or openly say, no, I don't think that's right, it's probably not the best collaboration, because you might not be happy with the end products, you might not be happy with how they present your story, your mob, and you're the one that's representing that. So I think you got to take, from an Indigenous perspective, that lead, and be really tuned into what they're really saying. So.
Yeah, thank you. And I think too, having that two-way learning and understanding is really important, but also giving mob the cultural autonomy to tell their stories, you know, be the creative leads or be the creative directors of the product, or, you know, their stories and narratives. Because I think for so long, you know, our people have been dispossessed and our stories have been appropriated. So it's really great to see all the incredible work that you guys are doing, as well as all the other designers that are working in this space and in the fashion space as well. So on that note, I've got a question for each of you, and I'd like to know what your vision, I guess, for fashion design in Australia is. And I'll start with Arkie.
Yeah, I think for fashion, it's interesting because I work kind of across the two spaces. So definitely in that terms of like a slower aspect as well as a bit more commercial. But I think fashion has such an incredible potential to connect with people. And I think definitely from my perspective that just being able to have that platform to connect with people so personally is really important. So I think for the future, being able for those bigger companies as well to be engaging with Aboriginal people and with mob and uplifting those voices is going to be really important, whether it's in collaboration or whether it's hiring Aboriginal people, or whether it's giving an additional platform to fashion labels as well. I think that's going to be really integral, and I'm excited. I really feel like there's quite a lot of excitement in the space, and I can't really see it slowing down. Like, it really does feel like from the beginning when I started designing and creating that it's just, yeah, it's rolling, it's going forward, and that, yeah, there's a lot of more interest than it was when I first started as well, which is very exciting.
Yeah, and the point you make about, you know, inclusivity and fashion being an avenue for, you know, a range of opportunities for young people to pursue a career in modelling or to pursue a career as a seamstress or a makeup artist. There is a lot of potential in the industry, and it is really about that support as well. So Lisa, what would be your, I guess, vision for fashion in Australia and I guess globally as well?
Yeah, I think I agree a lot with Arkie as well, and I guess that concept of slow fashion, I think, really needs to be pushed. You know, being responsible makers and creators, and I guess the idea of also for people to support homegrown fashion. And I guess, you know, we've kind of in this, you know, throwaway culture where people are, you know, happy to buy something that's really quite cheap to get, but it doesn't last. You know, I guess the idea of work that we create is, it's beautifully made. There's a lot of consideration in there. There's a lot of attention to detail. You know, there's working with, you know, with culture, and I guess having that input into it, and you know, telling stories, you know, having these stories into it. So I think, you know, it's something that should really be embraced, and you know, to move away from, you know, a culture that's just throwaway. And I guess, you know, the idea of also working with different organisations or different fashion labels or what have you, I guess the paramount is to be taking care of the artist and to kind of know what the responsibility is to actually look out for artists and to, you know, acknowledge what they're doing and to take care of them properly. And, you know, that comes with a lot of transparent information that's passed through and, communication. But yeah, I think I see a huge shift with what's happening with the fashion industry, Indigenous fashion industry here. I've only been doing it for a very short amount of time, but it's really kind of been embraced and, it's taking off. So it's really exciting to be a part of it and to watch it.
Yeah. And Lyn-Al, you've collaborated with Vogue and done some really amazing things in this space and in the industry. And you've also got your girls program for Sheeming. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and what it means for you to be able to inspire the next generation of Indigenous youth as well?
Yeah, and just with the vision for Australia as well, I was just thinking, I see us, our mob, but also the Australian fashion industry as a leading voice in the global fashion industry. I think, Australia is, technically a day ahead of the rest of the world, but for so long, we've been an echo in the fashion industry, in many different industries, and I just see our voice once us as Indigenous people, as the sovereign people of this land, step up in leadership within the fashion industry, will help lead the conversation in sustainability because of caring for country, will lead the conversation in cultural appreciation over cultural appropriation. I just see us, once we step up, and I really can start to see that we are, that will become that leading voice, rather than that echo. But yeah, with my Fasheeming program, which means fashion dreaming, and it's really about working with young girls to have a vision for their lives, to dream again like our ancestors did, and to go after that through practical workshops that I run with them. But it's really about how do they visualize their own life and how do they go after that. I say, how do they walk in the rhythm of their life song? The song lines that were set out before us, how do they walk in that? How do they walk into their dream? And I would just, I encourage them, and I encourage young Indigenous fashion designers to really draw upon their own personal story. If you're going to create something that's directly from yourself, from within, it's not going to be like anyone else, so it's going to be automatically unique. And just encourage young mob to, draw upon the resilience of our ancestors, the strength of our country, and before getting into, pieces and into your work, to seek wise counsel from our elders and the elders in your family. Just like going into an industry, you would seek the wise counsel of, the big boss or leaders in the fashion industry. So just as a cultural designer, seeking that wisdom from our elders in your community, and getting permission for things and just doing things culturally right, because we are the ones that set that standard.
Definitely. Lisa and Arkie, what about you? I guess, what does it mean to you to be able to see, the public and mob wearing your designs in the street and around?
I think it's amazing. Like, I know for myself, when I wear clothes from, those collections that we've done with Ingrid, I just feel like I walk a little bit taller. So it's, I think the great idea about it also is that evokes questioning, and, people kind of have conversations, and, I've people told me how they feel when they're wearing it as well, and just a lot of people want to connect, and they want to be able to kind of be a part of it, and express themselves in it as well. So I get really excited when I see people wearing it. It's amazing.
And Lisa, your collection launched at the Darwin Aboriginal Art Fair Country Took a Tour, which had a lot of reach as well, and it was an amazing opportunity and really a celebration of mob, and to be able to see all the designers and the artists and having, you know, First Nations models on the catwalk is really such an exciting opportunity for them as well to, you know, help support them in their career.
Yep, most definitely. And it was incredible. I've never seen anything like that. Like, I can't say that, as I said before, I haven't really been in this industry for very long, but, you know, we did it our own way at Kaantju to Couture, you know, like I've never seen anything like it. It was just, yeah, it was absolutely breathtaking. And, you know, having the elements, you know, there's all elements in the language, the dance, the culture, the, you know, the connections, and it was just, it was magnetic.
It really is. And I think that's one of the things that we really wanted to translate in the exhibition as well, is to take those experiences of, you know, storytelling and dance and choreography and singing, which is such an integral part of our culture, and incorporate that into the exhibition. So, you know, when you come into the show, it's almost as if you're coming onto country and visiting these places where the artists come from. Now, I'm conscious of time. We're running slightly early, so if you've got any questions for us, just pop them in our Facebook comments and we can read them out. And then we'll ask some of our designers questions that we've got in store.
Can't
wait for you guys to come up and see the exhibition.
I'm so excited.
It'll be good. It's been a long time, but I think, you know, there's a silver lining in everything. So it's looking optimistic. All right. So
and big congratulations to you.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. The exhibition will be going on tour as well to the NMA, which is very exciting. So that'll be early next year, which is super awesome. So we've got some questions here that I'll just read out. All right. So I'll go to Arkie. We've got a question here. The beautiful design that I'm in the Park Studio space, which is our education space behind me, was inspired by your rainbow dreaming dress.
Yeah.
How does it feel to you to have this design, I guess, transformed like this, and to have it in the space, and I guess that collaboration with working with the Bendigo Art Gallery education team as well?
Yeah, definitely. It's been really good, and I think also being able to work with that team to kind of like, I guess, transform it into a different mode as well, and like know that it's the elements taken out of the dress. Seeing them side by side, I think is quite good, and being a place for workshop and education as well, I think will be really amazing to kind of reflect that through. But yeah, it's exciting to see.
Yeah, it's exciting. Hopefully we can get some programs in as well with COVID restrictions eased. I have a general question for everyone, because it is NAIDOC week, and the theme for NAIDOC week is always was, always will be. So what have you guys got planned for the rest of NAIDOC week, and what does it mean to you as well? We might start with Arkie, and then we'll go to Lisa and Lyn-Al.
Yeah. I've always loved this line, and I think it's definitely something that I think a lot of mob associate with, like, being so proud of where we've come from. And like everyone says, like, NAIDOC week really is like Koori Christmas for everyone. It's an exciting week, and I think it's important to acknowledge, I guess, the positives, and also, I guess, the negatives of what our people have been through. And I think being proud of how amazing and incredible and resilient we are, but also being aware of, I think, the things that we're up against in this day and age. And that's definitely kind of a message that I always try to communicate throughout NAIDOC, because I do like a lot of like Instagram and brand takeovers and engagement plans for other brands, particularly during this week, and just making sure that we're communicating that we are proud and resilient, but but people also need to be listening to the issues that we have, from land rights through to death in custody. Like, it's definitely a bittersweet week, but always was, always will be. And yeah, I think that is something that always strikes a chord with every one of us.
Yeah, beautiful. How about you, Lisa?
I think this is the first time in I don't know how many years that I haven't had to do workshops back to back. So it was like, I'm actually going to enjoy NAIDOC Week this year. And I think for me, it's going to be about, you know, taking care of myself and being with my family. You know, a lot of the time at NAIDOC we're separated a lot, so it's always running around. So I think, yeah, due to COVID, thank you, COVID. Yeah, this is one time where I can kind of just take it easy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, usually NAIDOC's a busy week for mob, isn't it?
Yeah,
Completely. Yep.
How about you, Lenel?
yeah, same here. It's usually my busiest time of year. It's workshop after speaking engagement, after so it's always fun, and all the community events, the marches and all of that. So this year definitely will be different. It will be a nice relaxed one. Hopefully we'll come up to Bendigo and see the exhibition actually, so that will be a really lovely thing. Hope to go up this weekend. And yeah, just spending time here and enjoying life.
Yeah. Enjoying the warm weather as
Enjoying the
well.
warm weather. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
We have a comment from Rachel here. So she said, loving this panel. Please can you link to the designer's socials? So we'll do that, as well as we'll link to your Instagram accounts as well, so some of the audiences watching can follow your work and all the incredible stuff that you're doing, and really get behind First Nations fashion and our amazing and talented mob and all the amazing work that we're doing. So thank you all for yarning with me today, and I hope you have a really wonderful NAIDOC week. Piinpi will be open as of Thursday, so make sure you visit our website to book, and we'll be open until the 17th of January. We also have another live streaming event this Thursday at 6 p.m. with First Nations Fashion Design. That'll be with Grace Lillian Lee and Tegan Cowlishaw. Thank you to our wonderful guests again, our wonderful technician Callum, our partners at Bendigo Venue and Events, and everyone watching in the audience today. Watch this space and make sure you come up and see the exhibition. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.